All right, we're live. Thank you all for tuning into this webinar. We have Bibitayo Ojo from Africa giving us a lovely presentation on AI data governance, exploring the impact of regulatory interventions on AI development. And we may have touched upon some of these notes in the previous panel discussion, but we're going to get a complete primer, a treaty on this idea from Bibitayo. So without further ado, Bibitayo, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you, Joaquin. Um, and I actually want to sincerely appreciate you for putting this together and for giving me the privilege also to be part of the team driving knowledge across the globe. Thank you so much. And I want to uh, thank every person listening right now. It's a nice time to be with you. It's evening here in Nigeria. I'm currently speaking from Nigeria. So I am Bibitayo Ojo. It's J, not Y. Yeah. So Ojo, don't mind me, from Yoruba Nation. So thank you once again. This evening, I'm just going to be presenting um, a topic that is so interesting to me. I've been working in the compliance industry for quite a number of years now. So, and when AI uh, began to take the world by storm, before then, I started working on data protection and privacy. So basically, I have background in law, and I found an intersection between law and technology. So by the time I was still doing great things in data protection space, I just realized that there is also intersection between uh, privacy and AI development. So basically, AI data governance. So this evening, or whichever uh, one it is at your hand, probably morning. I know it's going to be afternoon in US right now. So, but whichever, I'm just going to be taking us through the impact of regulatory intervention on AI development. So there are different school of thoughts that actually speaks to um, different school of thought on AI governance. Some people believe that the regulatory framework has come to stifle innovation, and another school of thought believes that if we leave emerging technologies untamed, it's going to devour us one day. So, but whichever way, we'll be considering. Most especially, my interest is about business. In regulatory compliance, I am so much interested in supporting business. Yes, so much interested in supporting business. So one of the things I will be laying emphasis on today is how business organizations, especially data-driven organizations, AI enthusiasts, how they can stay compliant with necessary laws and regulation and still thrive in their businesses. So let me just quickly go straight to the content. So, sorry, give me a few seconds. All right. So the content, I just to guide my flow or thought process rather. So I will just quickly shed more light on AI, then the regulatory landscape, the impact of the regulatory intervention on AI, then how can organizations responsibly develop AI system and still stay compliant with necessary laws and regulation. So, um, Joaquin, please let me know how much time I have left so that I can plan myself within the necessary time.
You have plenty of time. We have another 20 minutes to go, and we can make do with
So why
the.
is trying to do that? I, it's okay. So let me just quickly go through the introduction. I said the rapid advancement of AI has brought about unprecedented opportunity, innovation, and growth. Um, Years back, like I was reading a book sometimes ago about the development of AI. It all started from training a horse to calculate mathematical arithmetic and to give you answers. And of course, lower animals might not really be able to process information as humans will do. But from that instance, it was understood that, well, beyond human intelligence, we can also create something artificially. So then it graduated to training machines and the likes. So today, nearly every area of life has artificial intelligence that can actually augment human intelligence. So, like I'm typing on Microsoft, I can install the plugin Grammarly to correct my tense or to correct to correct spellings. Um, Microsoft Copilot is there, generative AI generally. So we realize that as we are growing every day, things are changing, technologies are evolving, and today we are in the midst of AI development. And trust me, um, we cannot escape it. Although some people are of the opinion that here has come to take away job. I was having a session in my office this evening before I joined this meeting. It's also about AI, how we can embrace AI within the organization. And my MD was like, "See, this thing has not come to chase you away from the industry, but if you understand it well, you're going to do better in your work." So we understand it clearly that things are evolving, and we cannot stop innovation, we cannot stop growth. But the most important thing is the concern that these technologies are raising every day, concerns like privacy, concerns like security, concerns like ethics. We cannot also be blinded to those concerns, and that's one of the reasons for my presentation this evening. So, how do we balance growth, innovation, ethics, privacy, regulations? How can we balance them and still embrace growth in technology, AI development, and the like? So you will agree with me that AI development actually brought about increase in data collection, right? So under there's no how you want to develop a high system, there's no how you will train a system without data collection. And today data is the new oil. Virtually everything we do today deals with data, range from transactions at supermarket, um, transactions online, organizations you want to enter into a facility and they are asking you for um, your data, personal informations like name, address, phone number, signature, or for some people that still make use of physical documents. Or some other organizations make use of digital forms. So in all this, you will realize that to to really drive business at this stage, you even need data. To train your AI system, you need data. So that now brought us into the principles that regulates data protection and privacy. And of course, most of those principles are what has been embedded into the AI Act, and some other AI framework across the globe. So, for instance, principles like transparency, accountability, and so on. So, also, there's advancement in our algorithm, um, growth in reliance um, to to AI. Sorry, please, the person in charge of my slide, you can still go back to introduction. I will soon move on from introduction, or you can stay on the next page to introduction. I'm about to just move away from that slide. Thank you. So there's growth in reliance on AI. Yes, most people today, just like I said earlier, in industry today, one of the things that will make it to stand out is how good you can make use of AI tools to drive your productivity. So in as much as developers want to bring out new things, the consumers are also eager to consume because everybody wants to work smart. In all of this, I will still reiterate, there is always concern about privacy, there is always concern about security, there's always concern about ethics. So now, what are the regulatory framework that has been put in place to regulate this space? Usually, I don't know. I think I have bias for European, European generally, Europe generally, and what happens from that area of the globe. For instance, data protection. Um, we we got to know about data protection regulations from the European Union. So the first on my list is actually European Union Artificial Intelligence Act, right? We have general data protection regulation also. So basically, some of these extant laws like GDPR, CCPA, in Nigeria we have NDPA, in Kenya we have NDA, Data Protection Act rather. In South Africa we have POPIA, and so other ones. So in all these extant laws, they might not really address AI directly, but if you look at it holistically, you will realize that in as much as they talk about principles that regulate data protection, indirectly, because those principles are also embedded in AI Act that has been regulating the AI space, you can also rely on some of the provisions of those laws. Like I wrote something recently, yeah, that was last year, and I was writing about large language models in Nigeria. That is our law, or is my country really uh, ready for this space? But I got to realize that most, in as much as we don't have, as at the time I was writing, we don't have data protection. Sorry, we don't have AI regulation. But I based most of my I place more reliance on the Nigerian Data Protection Act. So if you look at these laws, generally they speak more about how to regulate AI, although not holistically. So, and I believe after European Union AI Act, Nigerian also had a strategy on how to regulate AI, though it's not a law yet, it's just a strategy. So I believe some other jurisdictions have also considered putting a legal framework in place to regulate AI. So the recent regulatory um, intervention aim at mitigating the risk associated with AI development. So basically, it's to just regulate the risk, because there's no how you will roll out a new technology that will not have its own risk. In as much as it has its own advantage, it also going to have its own risk. And part of the risk I mentioned earlier, privacy risk, security risk. Do you know that today, through AI tools, cyber crime can be conducted easily. For some persons who just want to explore, they have come up with different different tools that can also help cyber crime. Also, for ethical hackers, they are also working around the clock to make sure that AI can also be embedded into security infrastructure to determine um, re- occurrence incidents, or to determine incidents, data breach incident, likely data breach incident. So, in as much as ethical hackers are working around the clock, the black hat hackers also are working around the clock, all making use of AI. So AI has come to present risk, in as much as it has come to also present us soft landing. So this regulation also introduced new requirements for AI developers. So, for instance, AI developers, just like you are rolling out new technologies that we you'll be needing um, personal data to drive. AI developers also need to they also need to take care of some requirements that the law has put in place. For instance, you have to conduct impact assessment on your AI system. So those are that's one of the requirements, just to ensure that there is transparency, there is um, accountability. You will hear me mention those two words often. So let me just quickly go straight to the impact of regulatory intervention on AI and AI innovation. Earlier I mentioned the fact that there are different school of thought. A school of thought was of the opinion that no, you cannot leave AI without without 10 minutes. You cannot leave it without regulation. So we need to regulate that space, because our life is at risk, our privacy is at risk. Personal data are part of data used to train AI. And funny how, to even get those data, different developers just outsource them from different blog web page on the internet, without taking or without obtaining necessary consent from without taking necessary consent from the owners of those data. So some people believe that it has to be regulated, right? In as much as that space needs to be regulated, it is also glaring that if care is not taken, it can stifle innovation. I will show us a few things very soon. So a study by the security. So security is one organization that I follow back to back um, when it comes to data information security. So it found out last year that just in 2022 alone, year 2000, 2022, not less than 37 bills on AI were passed into law. Just to tell you that uh, jurisdictions are not sleeping. Data governance is the is very, very important in the industry today. You you see people now creating niche in that space. The likes of International Association of Privacy Professionals, and now also have a specific course certification, global certification course on AI governance. Just to tell you that we are not joking in this space. So in 2022 alone, 37 AI bills were passed. Just imagine what will have transpired between 2022 and 2024. So all to regulate that space. And also, research have shown that regulatory intervention can significantly influence AI development. So I don't want to go because of time, I don't want to go into mites. I don't want to go into different school of thought and their positions. But I will just share one or two things with us. So um, imagine when, okay, so a school of thought, let me just let me say this before I move on. So a school of thought was of the opinion that because when you when you put regulations in place, organizations will have to comply, and compliance is not cheap, right? Compliance is not cheap. Although, in as much as compliance is not cheap, trust me, the money you will spend on paying fine, administrative fine, or the 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 consequence of non-compliance is more costlier. So some people believe that since compliance is not cheap, it's going to have a ripple effect on the consumer. So you may not be able to come in, please. So you may not be able um, to regulate the cost. You may not be able to regulate the price of tools that has been rolled out from organizations that are compliant. So that's someone's school of thought. But trust me, everything have advantage, everything have disadvantage. Some people will be benefiting from a particular product, while some people will be suffering from it. But either ways, there should be balance, and that's where ethics also comes into play. So there is need for privacy protection, there is need for ethics. And I have a big question. So what do you, do you also believe that regulation still will a high innovation? So probably by the end of this uh, presentation, you'll be able to give me answer. But for me, as a regulatory compliance analyst, I just want to sit on the fence. It depends on a particular organization. You can leverage on um, regulations and you make your business to thrive, and you can also stand aloof and suffer the consequence.
Uh,
So, uh,
Bibitayo, we have about 7 minutes remaining.
oh,
I see that we have some interesting slides showcasing a little bit more of a definition from your perspective. Perhaps we can go through them, and if you want to change the slide, you just let me know.
all right. So let me just move fast. So while we were still talking about how AI, how regulation can stifle AI, you will see what happened to Grok. You see what happened to Microsoft Copilot. You see what happened to LinkedIn also recently in Europe. It's a good news that Grok is back. This the the suspension, the ban on development of Grok, especially through the Irish courts, has been lifted, and so uh, Grok is back. So and I'm actually happier about that because um, you can't say because data is needed to train a system. You can't say because you need data, you will not allow this system to be, you not allow innovation. So even in data protection and privacy, what we encourage is we know that you need data, but you must treat data with all with care, following necessary principles. So so how do you now balance AI and AI development and innovation? How do you make out responsible AI development? So I have actually put few few way out together, all still pointing to the fact that there is a need to be transparent and there is a need to be accountable, especially when you are training your system. So how can we balance a high innovation with regulatory, with regulations, with framework, especially privacy? So I said, yeah, the answer lies in responsible AI development and innovation. So this actually requires multifaceted approaches. So we have different approach that you can use. We have differential privacy. We have um, we have homomorphic encryption. We have federated learning. Actually, these are buzzwords, and for me personally, I'm not a, a technologist. So what do I mean? Um, I work on regulatory tech policy, but not deeply into development. So, but let me just quickly make few points on um, these approaches. So, for federated learning, it's actually a machine learning approach that enables multiple parties to collaborate and train models. I mean, large. It can be large language models. So it actually help them to come together. So when each of them are training, they are training on different. So they are training on different platform, or how do I put it? Okay, let me say it this way. So for instance, me and Joaquin, we want to train. So he is in US, I'm in Nigeria, and we are both training a model. So the data I have under this approach, he will not have access to it. I don't need to share that data. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So that's all about federated learning. So this approach is actually useful when data is sensitive and cannot be shared due to regulatory and security concerns. So you understand, if there is restriction on transfer of sensitive data, then you can make use of federated learning. So there is also differential privacy. So differential privacy helps you um, to protect sensitive data in a data set, so that when you run a script or you run a query on a data set, you will not the person running the script will not be able to see um, individual information, I mean personal information. So uh, while training, you can also make use of differential privacy, um, ensure that the data set you are sharing, if at all you have to share with another party, the data set you are sharing is actually configured in such a way that any query run on it will not show personal data. There is also homophobic. Okay, have I mentioned? Okay, I've mentioned differential. I've mentioned federated. Okay, so it remains homomorpho- homomorphic encryption. So with this encryption, um, this enable you to secure data from untrusted party. So the encryption, you can do computations on that particular data set without decrypting it. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So you can do um, so ordinarily you have a data set that is encrypted. Probably it's now shared with me. I want to work on it. I want to do some computation on it. I can run I can do my computation on that same data set without decrypting that particular encryption. So with this, while you are training your LLM, while you are training your AI systems generally, when you consider all this, they are actually privacy by design in the real sense of it. They are privacy by design. That is why you are trying to develop your project. You are conscious of privacy, and you have put some things in place to ensure that privacy is secure. So, in conclusion, in conclusion, I will tell you for free again that regulations have not come to um, disrupt or stifle innovation. If you can manage regulatory framework well, in fact, regulatory framework is even to guide you on how to have the best product that will be beneficial to you and will be beneficial to the consumer also. But my fear is that most of the time developers want to develop uh, products that we just pay for them. They are not concerned about the impact of that product on the society. If not, they will have considered how, okay, how will you even go into a project development and you will not conduct your impact assessment? For instance, in data protection space, we wanted to conduct your data protection impact assessment. Now, AI Act has also introduced impact assessment on AI development. So that's to tell you that it is not just about you making money. It is also about the impact of that product on the society. So this evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are listening from, um, regulations have not come to stifle innovation. Let us adopt multifaceted approach, privacy by design, ethics during development of artificial intelligence systems. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any question for me, please, you can raise them. I'll be glad to answer.
I want to say thank you, Bibitayo, for giving us this treaty, this primer into this very hard to define, continuously being defined area of knowledge. There's so many things that are being innovated on, and there's a lot of things in flux based on where you are, what countries, what are the objectives of the local governments, and what kind of infrastructure is available for the technology to exist. But I think this is an open invitation for us to have another conversation at a later time, where you can update us on some of the newer trends that you see and the changes that you encounter through your regulatory compliance work. But we are at time, so thank you all for listening. We're going to take a brief break, and then we're going to get into some networking. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Talk to you next time.